Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over this Bushnell AR Optics PCL Throwdown scope. Now, I realize that's a mouthful to get that out there, but this one here we've had in since I think 2013. I actually pre-ordered this one, so this is one of the very first to ever come out, and we've had it in a lot of different videos on a lot of different rifles, and you guys have just seen it on the channel for years now here, so we're finally doing the review. But what we're going to do now is a little bit more shooting, and then take a closer look at some of the details of it, and then show you the reticle, all that stuff coming up next. On the rear of the optic, we have this fast focus eyepiece here, which does a good job of letting you dial in the reticle focus to what your eye is going to need for your vision needs. We have this lever here, which really is the heart and soul of the design, if you will. Basically, it is the power control lever. So when you see the words PCL, that's what it's referring to, which is this little piece right here. It's pretty nice. It has really nice knurling on there. It has a little rubber O-ring on there, so that way when you're actually working the scope and not having it fully extended, it doesn't sort of scratch up the surface of your optic here, which is nice. But when you want to extend it out, you can very quickly go back and forth from 1 to 4 power all the way across, and then just fold it down when you're done. Now you can actually remove it. It has one little screw here, so you can unscrew that and just use it as a knob if you don't like the lever. However, I don't really see that being the case because it does work so well when it's already in the folded position if you want a lower profile adjustment piece. Right now the scope's on 1 power, so you can see it's actually not a true 1 power. It's probably more like a 1.25 or 1.5 magnification, but certainly very easy to use the reticle for close-up shots and stuff like that. You don't really lose a lot, but you do lose your ability to run it with backup iron sights should you choose to do so. You really can't do that with this scope, so that's definitely one of the downfalls of it. We're going to show you what the magnification looks like as we step up here through the different settings, and that's going to be 2. Moving up, that's 3. And that's 4. Now you can actually see the reticle on there on 4. Let's see if I can back it up and kind of get that a little bit bigger for you guys. And there you go. But that's what it looks like on 4. You can see the reticle, and this is actually on 10 right now in terms of illumination. So in bright sunlight like we have here, the illumination's not that great. Again, another drawback of it, yes, you can absolutely see it. And as soon as the sun starts to go down, it gets a little bit dimmer. On a cloudy day, it'll be much more visible. But it's very usable either way. I mean, you can still certainly see the reticle. It just, isn't as bright as some other optics out there. But again, that's what it looks like as you run through the different settings. So that's the field of view, but one thing that's nice about having a first focal plane optic like this one is that the reticle is always correct. So it's designed for the 16-inch barrel and an M855 round. So that's correct when you're using it at 1 power if you're actually capable of seeing the little dots on there, but it's also capable of using it at 4 power and has holdovers based on a 200 meter zero or a 50 meter zero. So basically you just get your zero at those distances, and then you can use the ballistic drop as needed. So, you have your 300, 400, and 500 yard increments there on the reticle. So the reticle does seem to work just fine. I've never had an issue with that, so no complaints there. The turrets are one thing that I am going to have a little bit of a complaint on. They are uncapped turrets, which I personally like. I do like the uncapped nature of them, being able to quickly dial stuff in. Although on a ballistic reticle type optic like this, you're really not going to dial anything in. But I do like the ability to quickly adjust them. The downside of that is that theoretically they could get bumped on gear and spin out, and you'll lose your zero. So if you do have this optic on a serious use rifle, I do recommend making some marks or notches in your optic. You can use whiteout or whatever the case may be, so that way you know where your proper zero is and you can return to it should it get spun. Now, as you can see here, the clicks are in 0.1 mil increments, which is basically 0.36 inches at 100 yards, give or take. Now, in reality, that's not true. It's not how it works. I did a ladder test on this, basically testing the adjustments, and from what I saw in my impacts anyway, it's really about 0.15 mils is what you're actually adjusting it as. Now, does that really matter? For most people at this price point, no, it absolutely doesn't, but it's just worth pointing out that the adjustments there were a little bit off. And one other thing to point out is that, and this could be a contributing factor as well to what I just said, is that the clicks are a little bit mushy. So what you have here is in the actual adjustments here, you can see if I move it real slow, that there's actually some play in those turrets there. So that's one of the things that you're just going to see on a scope like this. Generally speaking, that's pretty common. Obviously, if you're paying $1,000 for a scope, you're not going to see that kind of stuff, generally speaking. But does it really impact most people shooting? Again, no, but it's just something to point out. The illumination knob also contains your battery and has settings from 0, which is the off position, all the way up to 11. Now, we saw what they looked like out there in bright daylight. One thing to point out is that on the number 1 setting, you'll really never see it with your naked eye. However, if you're using night vision optics, say mounted behind it, it is the night vision setting and will work with your night vision optics there, and it'll be plenty visible in that setting. But you can move through. The clicks are pretty good here. No complaints on the illumination adjustment. It works as designed. One downfall of it, though, is that outside the front on this optic, you can actually see the illumination. So, in a combat situation, if you have that illumination cranked up really anywhere at nighttime beyond 4 or 5, it'll be very visible to anyone in the direction that you're orienting your rifle. 1x4 variable power optics are very, very popular on ARs because you can use them like a red dot on the 1 power, and also give you a little bit of extended capability when shooting at distance. So we have a few of these different optics here. This is our Throwdown PCL here by Bushnell, the Trijicon AccuPower 1x4, which is phenomenal, and then the Vortex Viper PST, which is again a very good scope. All of these scopes are very good options for their price point, but they are a little bit different. You can see the Vortex doesn't have illumination. The Trijicon is going to have much clearer glass than the Bushnell here. On that note, the glass on the Bushnell is very good for a $200 to $250 optic. However, these two definitely have a little bit better light transmission, especially in dawn and dusk and low light situations. These are going to do a little bit better than your Bushnell here. However, the Bushnell's, it's good for what it is. Just these are a little bit of a step up there. These two are also going to be a little bit lighter weight as well. So for AR guys, I know that's a big concern a lot of times. So we'll throw it on here on the scale and let you guys know what it actually weighs in at. Bushnell says it's a 17-ounce optic. It's not. We'll show you that here in a second. We're coming in right at 18.31. And just to show you the differences here, here's the Vortex Viper PST. You can see it's right at 16 ounces. And then the AccuPower, again, 16 ounces. Now, both of those other optics I just showed are obviously much more expensive. So it just really depends what you're looking for out of your optic. I think I left out a couple things. Number one, it's made in Korea, so not made in China. I'm sure some of you guys will be very happy to hear that. And it is a 30mm tube, so any of your 30mm mounts will work just fine. We've been using the 80M one, which I really like. We'll put a link below to that one. It's very affordable and works extremely well, so that's a good one. But there's just so many good mounts out there for 30mm scopes, especially with a sort of a cantilever design, which is what you're going to want with this sucker. They say it has a 3.6-inch eye relief, but as you can see when I was going back and forth between settings out there, it's going to depend on the power that you have it set at. So your eye relief is decent on this one, not great, decent. And that sort of leads me to, I guess, my closing point is that throughout the video here, it may seem like I was sort of bashing the scope, but I'm not. It's an excellent scope for what it is. So it's basically, I looked this morning and I found it for $200 shipped. So for that kind of money, it's an excellent scope. It will do a lot. It will help you reach out, beyond 100 meters over what your standard red dots will do. And the ballistic reticle seems to work just fine. The glass is perfectly fine, like I said. Again, for $200, it's a fantastic scope. I mean, 10 years ago, a scope like this would cost, I don't know, $1,000, especially for that first focal plane, which a lot of folks really like as well. So definitely it is a good optic. There just are some limitations to it versus other offerings on the market that are going to cost more money. So it just depends what you want, So if you want a good affordable scope that'll hold zero and, look cool on your AR and work well on your AR, this one's a good one to get. If you guys have any questions about it, anything else we discuss here on the channel, you can always post below in the comments section. You can also post over at my Facebook page as always. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and I hope to see you in the next video.